When I moved into the townhouse next door to Luke and Sarah, I had no idea how quickly my life would change. My name is Jenna Collins, and at the time, I was 32, freshly divorced, and trying to start over in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Pennsylvania. I wanted peace, a new routine, and maybe eventually, if life was kind, a second chance at love. What I got instead was something I never saw coming. Luke and Sarah Montgomery were the couple who lived 2 doors down. From the outside, they looked like the perfect pair. Luke, tall, athletic, with deep brown eyes and a relaxed smile, worked in construction management. Sarah, petite with a sharp sense of style and a warm demeanor, ran a successful online jewelry business from home. They had been married for almost 8 years. Everyone in the neighborhood admired their relationship. I did too, at least at first. The first time I met Luke, I was unloading boxes from the back of my car. I had been struggling with a heavy storage container when he jogged over and offered to help. "Hey, new neighbor. You look like you're about to drop that," he said with a chuckle, already grabbing the container from my arms. I smiled, a little flustered. "Thanks. I'm Jenna. Just moved in." "Nice to meet you, Jenna. I'm Luke. My wife Sarah and I live down that way," he said, pointing. "If you need anything, just knock." He was friendly, charming, and effortlessly helpful. I was grateful more than anything. I wasn't looking for anything romantic, and he didn't seem like the type to flirt or push boundaries. Over the next few weeks, Sarah stopped by a few times with fresh-baked cookies, welcome cards, and once even invited me to a small barbecue they were hosting. I appreciated the gesture. It felt good to have kind neighbors. I didn't have any family nearby, and my divorce had left a gaping hole in my social circle. Being included, even casually, helped patch that hole. Luke would sometimes help me fix things around the house. A loose cabinet hinge, a squeaky door, a malfunctioning thermostat. He always offered before I could ask. It became a friendly routine. We'd chat about home repairs, music, or TV shows we liked. He never made me feel uncomfortable. Sarah always seemed fine with it, and sometimes she even encouraged it, saying, "Luke's handy. Put him to work." Then one evening in early fall, everything shifted. Sarah had texted me earlier that day, inviting me over for dinner since she was trying a new pasta recipe. I didn't have plans, so I accepted. When I arrived, she greeted me with a hug and a glass of wine. Luke was already at the dining table, setting out plates. Dinner was casual and warm, the kind of meal that felt like it belonged to a family. We laughed, talked about weekend plans, and eventually moved into the living room. Sarah went upstairs around 9, saying she had a conference call early the next morning and needed to prep. Luke and I stayed behind, sipping wine and watching a rerun of a crime series. It was quiet for a few minutes. Then Luke turned to me and said, "You've really changed this place up, Jenna. It's nice having you around." I smiled, slightly embarrassed. "Thanks. It's been good to start fresh." He looked at me a moment too long. It wasn't creepy, just lingering. "I mean it. You bring good energy. Sometimes, it's like a breath of fresh air." I nodded, unsure how to respond. I stood up, collecting the wine glasses. "I should probably head out," I said with a polite tone. But as I turned to walk toward the kitchen, Luke stood too. He gently reached out, placing a hand on my waist. "Hey," he said softly. "Thank you for being here tonight." His voice was low, almost whisper-like. His hand didn't move, just rested there. Warm. Steady. I froze. Sarah was upstairs, just a floor away. I stepped back instinctively. "Luke," I began, but I didn't even know what to say. He looked at me, his face suddenly flushed. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. It's been hard between Sarah and me lately. We've been more like roommates. You remind me of how things used to feel when life was simple." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. A million thoughts ran through my head. Was this innocent? A slip? Or had he been planning this moment for weeks? I left quickly, mumbling something about needing to check on my dog, who didn't even exist. That night, I barely slept. I replayed the moment again and again in my head. His hand on my waist. The way he said those words. The intensity in his eyes. Over the next few days, I avoided them. I didn't respond to Sarah's friendly texts or wave when I saw Luke getting the mail. I just didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to pretend nothing happened. Another part of me felt betrayed, not because I had feelings for him, but because I had believed he was different. A week later, I came home to find a note on my door. It was from Sarah. "Hey Jenna, haven't seen you in a bit. I hope everything's okay. Would love to catch up. Come by anytime. S." Guilt settled in my stomach. I didn't want to cause a rift between them. Maybe Luke had made a mistake. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe it wasn't my place to say anything. But fate didn't leave me room to decide. 3 nights later, I heard a knock at my door just past 10. It was raining outside, and the figure on my porch was drenched. It was Sarah. Her mascara was smudged, and her eyes were red. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice trembling. I nodded, moving aside. She sat on the couch, clutching her phone in one hand. "I need to ask you something," she said, barely able to meet my eyes. "Has Luke ever crossed a line with you?" I felt my throat close up. She continued, voice shaky. "I found messages. Not to you, but to someone else. Flirty, suggestive. He says it meant nothing, that he's just been under stress, but..." I started thinking. "He's been spending a lot of time with you. I just want the truth." My heart broke in that moment, not for Luke, but for Sarah. I nodded slowly. He hugged me once. It was weird. Too close. It caught me off guard. He said things weren't going well between you two. I left right after. I never encouraged it. I swear. She stared at me for a long time, tears spilling over. Then she nodded. "Thank you." Sarah left that night, without saying much else. A week later, the moving truck arrived. Luke wasn't there. Sarah came by to say goodbye. She handed me a small box with a silver bracelet inside, the same one she wore the first day we met. "I want you to have this," she said. "Not because of what happened, but because you were honest when it counted." I never saw Luke again. Word around the neighborhood was that Sarah filed for divorce and moved closer to her sister in Vermont. Life went on. Quiet returned to the street. I stayed in that townhouse, planted a small garden, and started writing again. But I never forgot that moment, his hand on my waist, the silence between us, the weight of choices that followed. Sometimes, shocking endings aren't about explosions or chaos. Sometimes, they come quietly, with a hand, a word, and a goodbye.